Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson is a show about the journey of motherhood. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy, and I love helping you navigate your way through motherhood, early parenthood. And for that, on the show today, we have Dan Fuoco. He is the social media manager for Suburban Collection. He's going to talk to us about picking our first family vehicle. And then we are going to talk to Dr. Charles Price. He is a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and he will talk to us about hip dysplasia and what to look out for with your newborn. Ben McHugh is an entrepreneur. He started the product Make My Belly Fit. It is a Canadian small business that basically provides you with something to put in your winter coat so you don't have to go out and buy new winter coats as you get bigger with pregnancy. And finally, we are going to talk to my good friend Marshall Stevenson. He is the owner of the New York Beer and Brewery Tour and just absolutely great dad. We are going to revisit a conversation we had not too long ago about the pressures of enrolling your toddlers in all types of programs. First up, Dan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So tell me a little bit about Suburban Collection and what you do with the company.
Sure. Suburban Collection is a collection of dealerships. We are the 14th largest dealership in the U.S. We have over 50 dealerships that are part of our brand and different parts of the Suburban Collection. And we do a lot in terms of sharing and supporting different charities within the local Detroit area. That's where most of our dealerships are based.
Okay. So I am a fairly new mom. I have a 19-month-old, and I've been driving a Honda Civic for as long as I can remember. And it's been fine for now, but we clearly need to upgrade to our first family vehicle. And I would love to hear from you. What are some things that people should look for when researching this vehicle?
So if you're interested in different vehicles, you're a new family, typically some of the things that we see, if you're looking, in a van versus an SUV, those are two different types of vehicles. For a van, typically you want to see something that has a lot of convenience. That's what we like to offer, and that's what a lot of people are asking for. They want, sliding doors, and they want something where you can press a button and have something open, like the rear hatch or the doors opening with the sliding doors. Because typically if you have children or you're carrying groceries, your hands are full. You have a lot of things going on. You have a lot of things to manage. So just opening a door can be a hassle. So if you have a button, if you can press, it'll speed up the process a little bit more and make things a little bit easier. So little things that count.
Right. So so now you said if you want an SUV versus a minivan. So is that a feature that's normally just in minivans, or can you get that in an SUV as well?
So typically, as far as sliding doors, those are in minivans. You can get some SUVs now have press button for the rear hatch. So if you're looking, for an SUV that has those type of capabilities, you can definitely, do that. When we get customers that are interested in SUVs for new families, they're looking for things that make the vehicle reliable, that has options. So, for instance, the ability to have four-wheel or all-wheel drive, that gives you the option of, first of all, it makes sure that while you're driving, depending on whatever weather condition, you feel safe. You feel comfortable. You can drive and not have to worry that your vehicle will slide or move, or that you feel like you're in control. But even furthermore, having an SUV versus a van in terms of those types of things. If let's say you're just driving along, you're on a path, and you're at a fork in the road. You can either go right and stay on the road, or you can go left and you can go through the woods and on a trail. If you're in a van, you don't have that ability, you don't have that option.
Right.
And it may seem, it may seem a little insane, if you will, but you have the ability, you have the option to go off-roading in an SUV if you want. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to do it, but when you want to, you can do that because you have four-wheel drive, you have all-wheel drive. So just having options like that in an SUV makes the idea of purchasing an SUV a little more intriguing.
Right. And then as far as the four-wheel drive, is that something that is primarily usually just in SUVs and not minivans?
Yeah, there are some minivans that are now equipped with all-wheel drive, but primarily you're going to find that feature in an SUV.
Okay.
And in terms of, some other differences between SUVs and minivans, even just, considering convenience, like I said, you have the ability to entertain your children in a minivan. So an entertainment package or, primarily the biggest factor, one of the biggest factors in the convenience category is storage, because anyone who has children knows that there's a lot of baggage that comes with the children in terms of toys and yeah, literal, not emotional baggage, literal baggage.
Right, a lot of stuff. Yes.
And so you have to put those things somewhere. Otherwise, your area will quickly become a battlefield. And, when you're driving around, you don't need things flying at you. So if you can store them away in different compartments, that's a huge factor and a huge benefit of minivans. They have storage, they have space. If you need to stand up in a minivan, you can almost stand up. You have the ability to do those types of things.
Right. Now, which minivans have the four-wheel drive if somebody's looking for the best of both worlds?
I know that the Chrysler Pacifica has the option of having an all-wheel drive vehicle. Now, I also know that in the Pacifica, if you have the all-wheel drive, you're sacrificing storage. So there's give and take. You can have. It depends on what you're interested in.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, safety is definitely up there, but storage is a necessity. And then when you start expanding your family, obviously a minivan is more helpful for that as well.
Yeah, there's just, like I said, a lot more room in the minivan. SUVs, they're really... The huge benefit, like I said, is four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, the options, and the different styles and varieties. So with a minivan, you're going to kind of be pigeonholed into kind of one look, even though you may have a minivan in a couple different brands. But with SUVs, there are, large and there's different sizes of SUVs. There's different varieties. And so you have that option of, if you want different trim levels in an SUV, there are a lot of different options.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to go the SUV route and wanted a large one to maximize the space as much as they could, which ones would you recommend?
The Dodge Durango is a great SUV for space, for the style, it fits a lot of different categories.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. And then is there a ranking or anywhere people can go to see the rankings of the safety of each vehicle?
Yeah, you can go to typically different third-party organizations have those, Cars.com, Edmunds.com, KellyBlueBook.com. They have a lot of different star ratings for the different vehicles and different brands. So whether you're interested in a GMC or a Ford or you're interested in Honda, they have those different star ratings.
Okay, terrific. And would you recommend a lease or a purchase when it comes to your first family vehicle, if you're, say, not going to drive a ton of miles?
If you're not going to drive many miles, you could definitely do a lease. The lease gives you the ability to have the car for a certain amount of time. It's almost like an extended test drive, if you will.
Right.
You get to have it for a certain amount of time, and then if you like it, you have the ability to purchase it. So a lease is definitely the best route to go in terms of if you're not going to drive a vehicle too long, too many miles.
Mm-hmm. And what is the average?
If you want to change.
Right, exactly. It gives you options. What is the average amount of miles on a lease nowadays? Is it 12,000, 15,000 per year?
Yeah, between 12 and 15,000 are the two highest, or the two most popular mileage ranges.
Got it. Okay, so where can people go to contact you? Maybe they want to get in touch if they're in the Michigan area, or even if they're not in the Michigan area, just to reach out to you for more information.
The best place to go is on our website, suburbancollection.com.
Perfect. All right, Dan Fuoco, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Sure. That was very informative. I know that we're going to be going out and finding our first vehicle, and it's going to be a lot of test driving and a lot of talking, but that was really helpful. A good start. Next up, we have Dr. Charles T. Price. He is a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and he's going to talk with us about hip dysplasia. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Don't forget, you can follow us on social, Passport Mommy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. More coming up in just a few.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy, and I love navigating and helping new moms because I was a new mom not too long ago, and I know how nerve-wracking it is, and I know how much you hear about you better watch out for this, be careful of this, but there are a few things that are very important. And one thing that I was made aware of very early on was just to be careful about hip dysplasia or hip instability. And I want to talk to you more about that this segment. And for that, I have Dr. Charles T. Price. He is a world-recognized pediatric orthopedic surgeon and medical director of the International Hip Dysplasia Institute. The IHDI is a global consortium of physicians who come together to share their expertise in a coordinated effort to promote best practices for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of hip dysplasia. Dr. Price, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and thanks for the wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about hip dysplasia and what parents should know.
Right. Well, it's very common. First of all, a lot of people think it only happens in dogs, but babies are born not ready to walk, and their hips are not completely formed in most cases. So hip instability is the most common abnormality in newborn babies. And most of that goes away, but it can range anywhere from just a mild looseness of the joints from passing through the birth canal or being in the wrong position, or complete dislocation. About 1 in 100 babies needs evaluation or treatment, and 1 in 500 has a completely dislocated hip.
Wow. And so what can a parent do to try to minimize the risk? Obviously, like you said, things can happen going through the birth canal, but once they're born, what can we do?
Well, the most important thing is to let your baby be in a natural position. The pediatrician will definitely check the baby's hips as part of the newborn exam, and they pick up most of the problems. But after birth, you can actually put pressure on the baby's hips if you try to straighten them out too quickly or wrap them up with tight swaddling, which is the most common thing. And we found that 1 in 5 babies with a dislocated hip now is discovered after 6 weeks of age, and some of that's because of what moms are doing without knowing it. If they just let the kids move and wiggle their hips without wrapping them up too tightly with swaddling, then they're more likely to develop normally.
Right. And I know when we started swaddling, we actually used the halo swaddles, which I really liked because it gives the baby a lot of room in their legs and in their hip area, but they still feel very secure up top.
Right. And that's an arm swaddle, which is what we encourage. The arm swaddling gives the babies a lot of comfort and helps the moms. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics has some guidelines for swaddling during sleep, and certainly after the babies are able to roll over. You have to be very careful with swaddling. But the other thing they can do as they get older is baby wearing, which is different a little bit from baby carrying. If you're just taking your child to the grocery store with you, that's a short-term thing. But keeping the baby on your body for an extended period of time has been shown to have some emotional and behavioral benefits, but we want the baby to be kind of wrapped around the mother's torso with the legs slightly spread, facing inward, and the legs supported all the way to the knees so that the legs aren't hanging down, sort of dangling in a straight position. So it's better if the babies are facing inward in what they call the M position, which is kind of like the baby, like you would pick up a baby and they just sort of straddle your hip and you carry them with the legs spread.
Sure. Well, that's good advice. Now, who is the International Hip Dysplasia Institute and what do they do?
Well, it's something that's an outgrowth of some support from Larry the Cable Guy and his family. Their child had pretty severe hip dysplasia, and they wanted to bring attention to other people. So we, with their help and support, we put together a group of volunteer physicians internationally, and we have a focused program to basically cure hip dysplasia.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. That is terrific. And as new parents, obviously we know the little steps that we can do to protect the newborns, which this was very helpful. What else can we do if we do find out that, hey, you know what, our newborn does have hip dysplasia? Is it correctable? Is it something that we can work on?
Definitely. And one of the things the International Hip Dysplasia Institute's done is establish a website with a lot of information, and that's www.hipdysplasia.org, which will answer tons of questions. But the most important thing is to, have your pediatrician check it. There are some risk factors for hip dysplasia. A baby that was born breech, which is bottom first, even the babies born by cesarean section that way are at increased risk, and most pediatricians will recommend an ultrasound at 6 weeks of age. If your family has a history of hip dysplasia, if the child has other issues from a tightness in the neck or a foot abnormality, then these can be brought to the attention of the pediatrician. And those are the main things. If when you're diapering the baby, if you notice that the hips are really tight and don't spread very well, then that's something that might want to bring to attention of the pediatrician. Or if the buttock creases are not equal, if they're uneven, then that can be a early sign too. And if we can detect it before 6 months, it can generally be treated with just simple positioning in a brace or harness. So it is important to try to find these early.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Dr. Price, and talking all about this because I think it is a topic that it's just a matter of being informed. And so parents and pediatricians can work together to know what to look out for. And like you said, how to either prevent or address it when you do find out. Next up, we have Ben McHugh. He has started Make My Belly Fit. It is for your winter coats if you're pregnant to help your belly fit during the winter time so you don't have to keep buying new coats. We'll talk to him coming up next in just a few.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. And, when I was pregnant, I could tell you that I was pregnant over the winter time. And I had to go out and buy probably 3 different coats to get me through the winter because my belly kept expanding. And I thought, my gosh, there has to be a better solution because this is expensive and who wants to keep running to the store? And there is a better solution. And so I was thrilled to come across Ben McHugh's new product. Well, it's fairly new and it solves this issue. So I'm thrilled to have him on the show. Ben is the creator and owner behind Make My Belly Fit. It is a Canadian small business that designs and sells jacket extenders for maternity and baby carrying. So he calls himself an accidental entrepreneur. He used to be in electrical engineering, and now he started this company. And after starting the company, he also was on a show similar to Shark Tank in Canada, and it was met with rave reviews, his product, and 4 out of the 5 dragons, the millionaire dragons, as they call them, invested in the product. And on top of that, he is a dad of 4, a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 21-month-year-old. Ben, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Michelle. Pleasure to be here.
So tell me, you've got so much going on. I give you so much credit that you are a dad of 4, an entrepreneur after having a very successful career. What made you decide to go this route?
If I'm very honest with, I found business offers challenges on so many different levels, and it actually really comes down to not one of those that kind of question a lot of people have of not really sure what you're supposed to be doing in life, and back in 2010 when we had the idea for the jacket extenders, and it was literally out of that need of my wife took my jacket because we were having because she was pregnant, and so as you do, you kind of sort of look at it and sort of think, well, it's just zips, there must be something out there you can just zip in, because where we are up in Montreal, it gets pretty cold in the wintertime. So a quick Google search later and nothing came up, so it kind of spurred the idea from there. And as you get into it more, you suddenly realize there's quite a few technical challenges with trying to make a jacket extender zip onto all these different types of zips that you find on jackets. It gets remarkably complicated very quickly. And I think that one aspect there kind of appealed in terms of that kind of technical challenge. So I guess that was the engineering part of me. But there was this, for some reason, it ignited some kind of, I guess, a passion in me for which also lent itself to customer service, which is another area that we try to excel in. And I just remember one of my favorite jobs. I just finished university. I was traveling for a year, and I was working in a 5-star hotel in Whistler. It's big major ski resort up in Canada, and working in the customer service department really got to really cemented the idea of sort of 5-star service, how to go above and beyond for the customer. So kind of I loved it. I love making people happy and being able to make bellies fit, and that kind of it makes people happy. Like you said before,
it really does. I just have to stop you for a second. It does make people happy. And I have to say that even the jackets that are made for women, like the maternity jackets, they are not warm. And you're in Canada and I'm in New York, and so it's even colder by you. But I've tried some of those and they're really lightweight fabric. So the fact that you can still use your own winter jacket and just use this extender is great.
Yeah, it's exactly that reason. I mean, you really, I won't say it's life and death in wearing or not wearing a jacket in the wintertime, but it's not far off it when you're getting into the minuses. And most of us living in any cold climate, we already have a warm winter jacket. We know we trust it. We know it works well. So being able to simply extend that is definitely a better way forward. And it's funny you should mention that, actually, because there was an article recently about the actual lack of more technical gear for maternity. So that would be more technical jackets that do stand up to sort of harsher winters. And it's unfortunately it's an area of the market that's very underserved, and apparently some of the reasons being it does get quite technical for these larger companies. So sort of I won't sort of name names, but it's not just simply a case of, oh, we'll just take our technical jacket and that's got good down, it's got good material, very good waterproofing, everything else, and just make a larger size. There's having to look into the different shapes, and there's a lot of different bellies come in all sorts of different shapes as well. Right. So it's a science in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through really quickly how your extender works.
Absolutely. So we're very excited this season to launch. We launched a universal adapter, which basically allows our extender to attach to any jacket with a zip. And the challenge up until now is that there are so many different zips on jackets. They come in various sizes, typically a sort of 3 to a size 10, and different brands as well. They're not compatible. So up until now, we've always had these different adapters, and we have a very streamlined process on the website and for our retailers as well to be able to identify the zip on a person's jacket and allow them to purchase this an adapter. That is, if our main extender doesn't zip right in. Now, with this universal system, though, it's basically was the original idea in 2010. It's just taken this long to actually get here. Sort of simple things are really not simple to do. And with this universal, it simply slides onto the zip, sits securely in place, and this way there's no need to know ahead of time the type of zip on someone's jacket. So it's notwithstanding, you don't have to buy an adapter for a specific jacket. You can simply slide this one off, put it on another jacket. So we've designed it to be to work very well during the winter months, but also light enough for spring, for fall weather as well. So really trying to extend the use of it and allow our customers to be able to use it on as many jackets as possible.
Right. That's terrific. And I really love how universal it is. And like you said, it's, you have a video out on YouTube, so it's easy to watch and to figure out how to install it in your jacket. And what is the price point on it?
Price point currently is $117 US.
Okay.
That's through our website, which is makemybellyfit.com. We are a Canadian-based company, but we do have very quick shipping into the US. We have a number of US retailers. And that's definitely an area that we're seeing growing a lot at the moment online. But definitely we're trying our best. With I think, like you said before, I have quite a bit on my plate. So there's only so much I'd say one person and even our team as well that we can do. And it's really a case of one step at a time. There's to be able to get the word out there, but honestly, up until now, it's been a lot of word of mouth to share products and stuff like that. But very, very grateful to a lot of our existing customers for that, which is, I guess, where we've seen quite a bit of growth through online into the US.
Yeah, absolutely. And the price point is a good one, because if somebody had to go out and buy another maternity jacket, it would probably be more than that. And this covers you when you keep expanding. So you only have to pay it once for your whole pregnancy, which is terrific. So you're in over 100 retail stores across Canada. And like you said, you're bringing it to stores in the US. Tell me what it was like to be on that TV show that is similar to Shark Tank here in the US.
Yeah, it's so similar actually, because some of the sharks right now. So Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, Robert Herjavec as well. They were originally on Dragon's Den, and so when Shark Tank started up in the US, a few of them jumped. I wouldn't say jumped ship, but it's a pretty intense experience. It's quite an aspiring goal for a lot of small businesses to do. It's that, I mean, it's quite scary as well, because you're literally taking something that you're a product, an idea, a business that you have that you're generally very close to, and you're pretty much exposing yourself to the mercy of these dragons who can sort of millionaires who want to invest, providing it's a good idea. But there's always the chance that obviously on air as well, something might go wrong. You might, for example, we had our third child, Simone, who was how old? She was about. I would say she was about six, let me get this right, I think about 8 months old at the time. Okay. And it's so timing with a baby on television, and you only get one shot at this. You literally, you go in, you make your pitch, you hope that goes well, and then the conversation starts. And with the baby, with Simone, it's always a risk that if she hasn't had a little nap before, then she could be cranky and start crying, and that can totally change things. But she was, I have to say, the star of the show. I think she was probably the one that sealed the deal.
Wow, that's amazing. You see that?
Yeah, managed to charm. She charms the dragons with a lot of smiles, and it was great. They really, tried obviously trying to let the passion come through of what I'm trying to do, and sort of the difference that we're making. And I think, and it's funny, once you start, you set aside the fact that you're standing in front of these sort of millionaires. They're very sharp business people and business ladies, and you sort of put that aside because you realize you're there to present your product. And so if you do believe in your product and you're passionate about it, then you gotta ride on that. And I think that's what I did. And I'm knowing your numbers inside out. Like any of these shows, you have to know your numbers inside and out. I knew them backwards, percentages, dollars. That's the part of I guess the let's say over preparing, but it's
you have to. That's great though.
Yeah. So no, it was a great experience. We ended up with 4 out of 5 actually made an offer. We took a deal with Manjit Minhas, who is for want of a better term, a beer baroness. She was actually the youngest. Her and her brother were the youngest brewery owners in the States. They own a brewery in Wisconsin. And have other distilleries and breweries in Canada as well. And she's a mother as well. She took 2 daughters around the same age, as our oldest. And so again, it's one of those things ahead of time. Like who would you want to have batting in your court? Right. I mean, someone you generally for our part, you definitely want to either have a mother or a dad, so they have some experience with sort of having gone through maternity and even baby wearing as well. Yeah. So that kind of came together pretty well.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think anybody who has been through a pregnancy or is a new parent can completely relate. And it really is. I feel like it's not one of those things maybe that you completely understand until you are in that person's shoes. So I think it's an incredible product. We have about a minute left. Tell me what it's like balancing fatherhood to 4 young children and working on your business.
You know what? It's all relative. We're busy. You have that feeling of you were busy before we had kids. Right. I speak to my sister-in-law and say, no, we're too busy to take the kids. We have this weekend. I'm like, busy? Do you have any idea? We have kids. We're running a business. Like busy, it doesn't. But you can't compare. And you know what? Yeah. It's wonderful. And you know what? I have to give a huge credit to my wife, who it's not easy work-life balance, but a huge credit to my wife, who does remind me on a daily basis too that it's important to spend time with the kids, which we do. We have dinner with the kids every day. There's definitely time set aside. It's and it's work and it's effort, but it's worthwhile. And like they say, is the with kids, the days are long, but the years are short. And
absolutely.
And the one thing, and it's just not having those regrets later in life, saying, you know what, yes, we did very well in business, but I wish I spent more time with the kids. So hopefully I'm not going to have those regrets, or do my best to not have them.
Ben McHugh, thank you so much for joining me today. Next, we're going to talk to my good friend, Marshall Stevenson. He is the owner of the New York Beer and Brewery Tour and just absolutely great dad. We are going to revisit a conversation we had not too long ago about the pressures of enrolling your toddlers in all types of programs. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. More coming up next.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson.
Welcome back. I'm Michelle Jerson, and I'm here with my good friend Marshall Stevenson. He is a comic, the owner of the New York Beer and Brewery Tour, and overall, just awesome dad. And we both have toddlers around the same age, so we get to see each other a lot at play dates and talk about all these issues that affect us as parents here in New York City and just in general. Hey, Marshall.
Hey, I don't see any other of my friends except you, because we have these kid play dates.
Exactly. It's a great excuse to socialize. I love seeing you. I mean, I love seeing your daughter too, but it's a great way to catch up. And, you know, I like these play dates, and so many people choose to go another route, and maybe they enroll their less than 2-year-olds in all these different, whether it's a daycare program or a separation program or a twos program. And I find myself feeling a lot of pressure as to, oh my gosh, if I'm not enrolling my daughter in all these programs, she's going to fall behind all these other kids. And I don't know. Personally, I don't think I was in a twos program, and I think I turned out okay. I'm just wondering how you feel about all this.
Well, it is tough because you want to do, hi, sweetheart. I have a little sidekick here for the interview. Appropriately enough. I think there is, a lot, I wouldn't call it pressure. I would call it, I want to do the right thing. And
Right.
So I'm not so sure what to do, but I'm not buying into any of the pressure. So if that's the right word for it. Yeah, it is tough because you want to have your kid excel and not be at a disadvantage against the kids who are going to those programs. But at the same time, I really do believe that, that them being bored and just have time to explore on their own is really good for them. We're over-programming very early.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think that even just doing play dates, just as long as they're around other kids and they're getting exposure to other babies and they're playing and they're learning how to share and just different dynamics about being around other people, I think that's really beneficial at this age. And I do agree. You want to make sure that they are in line and they are prepared for when they go to nursery school or kindergarten. But I'm with you. I'm not feeling the pressure that I think a lot of other people feel, if that's what you call it.
Right. Now, you were great yesterday because my little girl gets very shy at these play dates, and it makes me wonder whether I was wrong not to put her in more because she seems completely overwhelmed and intimidated by all these other babies. Sweetheart, you're scared of babies. What you're scared of babies. What's with that? I don't understand. So she was clinging to me, and you picked her up, and with my permission, of course,
Right.
pulled her aside and said, come on, we got to play with the other kids. And that was great because she actually responded to you better than me. But anyway, the point was that these play dates, and seeing her so shy, at least for the first half hour of them, makes me think maybe she should be in more. Maybe I didn't make the right decision. Maybe she should be more immersed.
Right. And you know what? And I had a similar situation, not exactly that, but I was dropping my daughter off at the gym that I go to because they have a daycare. So for 2 hours, you can drop the children off and you can go work out. So for a while, she was really enjoying it and then would just start crying hysterically and could not bear for me to leave. And it broke my heart. And I thought, you know what? I should have her in a separation program. What am I doing? I can't just leave her here. She doesn't have the skills to know why I'm leaving. And it went on for a while. And the people at this gym just kept taking her and said, we're going to put her on a slide. We're going to play with her. Don't worry, just go. And it was so hard for me, but now she's doing well. And I think these are just stages that they go through and they learn. And I don't think that we should feel, oh my gosh, it's because they're not enrolled in certain programs. It just happens.
Yeah. So how do you, well, I don't know. We don't necessarily have the stomach for that. So you leave her in the program and she cries hysterically and you're just like, see you later. I'm sorry you're crying hysterically. And you just I'm not saying that's not the wrong thing to do. That's hard. People who aren't parents don't realize these are the kind of challenges. Oh my God, my heart is breaking and I'm walking away.
Oh, believe me, the guilt of, I'm just going to go work out while she's hysterically crying. No, I felt horrible. And I called down there several times to make sure she was okay. And when I would go to pick her up and I'd see her eyes were all swollen and she looked like she'd cried the entire time, I felt terrible. And then I didn't bring her back for a while. And then I said, okay, I'll try again. And they kept telling me, look, it's just, this is what they go through. They go through separation anxiety. Don't worry, it'll pass. You just have to keep trying. So I kept trying. And now she's doing better. So I think there are times that we just have to put the blinders on a little bit and say, okay, this is best for them. They're learning and just do it. Mark,
just learn how to, while your child is screaming bloody murder like they're about to die, just learn how to read a book and zone it out. That's the key.
Exactly. Oh, we have to talk more about this. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but definitely because it is not easy. And if you're a parent, you know this journey is not easy. And that's why I thank you for joining me today on Passport Mommy. Don't forget, you can follow me on all the social channels, Passport Mommy. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you next week.